Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. As you can see by the title, I'm going to be talking about, I don't normally do videos like this back to back, but I try not to, sometimes I do. But I thought it was a really good video to put together because somebody had asked me a question today about, what's the hiring process for getting hired as a corrections officer, and it's a question I actually get a lot, even from friends, family. I get this question a lot, and it's a lot of detail. So I'm like, you know what? Let me make a video of it so that you guys can know, because it's not something I can just write all out in a comment. I mean, I can, but it's just gonna be like really thorough, and it's gonna be hard to like get all the details in there. So depending on your department, depending on your department, you could be, the process can take 3 to 6 months, sometimes longer. Some places take a year before you get hired, or before your application even gets reviewed for hire. So luckily for our department, it takes around 3 to 6 months, depends. Mine took kind of long because, well, at least just getting my application viewed, because they had messed up my application, and it like was in a completely different folder for like a different thing. I don't know why, but I knew somebody who worked in there, and he's like, oh, I'll ask them where your application is, because by now you should hear from somebody. And they found it. It was just in the wrong folder. But anyways, that was my issue. So if you ever feel like maybe they haven't gotten to it or something, I mean, you can always call the department and ask them like, oh, I sent in an application. I just want to make sure you guys got it. I want to make sure my email went through, or however you sent it. So I think I sent a physical one. I can't remember. But yeah, it was an interesting process. So it did take me a little while, only because obviously, like I said, it was in the wrong folder. And then once you get hired, everything moves pretty quickly, depending on, because it's like they go by dates, and they try to get other people the dates like together, because with us, we're going in with people that we're gonna, if we're not being hired with previous experience, like if we don't already have a Florida corrections officer certificate, if we don't, or we're not an LEO, we go through the training process together. So there might be days where we do our physical PT test for our initial like entry, where we do it with a group of people who are being hired as well, so that they don't have to do like a bunch of separate dates. They could just put a date all together. And then so with me, it was like they had given me dates. They're like, oh, this date you're gonna be doing the physical. They called me first, and they were like, hey, we're interested in hiring you. Another thing that I put on my application is I have military experience, and that is something a lot of police and corrections, jails, wherever you're working, our department's county, so we work with our LEOs, and we work with our corrections officers. We're a county jail, so we all work very tight-knit, department. We all work together. If you're working for state, you're gonna only be with corrections officers, and the same goes for state police officers. You're only gonna be working with police officers, because depending on where you're put as a state police officer, you're just gonna be with those state troopers, and then you're gonna go to whatever jail, or whatever county jail is closest to you for the people to be put. Like, you arrest somebody for DUI or whatever, you're gonna go to your nearest county jail and drop them off, depending on your region. So and if you're working as a state corrections officer, you're in a prison. So nobody goes in and out of prisons. They do transports, but you're going from prison to prison, or you're going from prison to I don't know if you go from jail, but you go from jail to prison. So I know they do those transports and stuff like that. Everything's very tight-knit in there. Obviously, police officers don't drop people off. Corrections officers transport people to prisons, and vice versa. So police officers don't do that. Police officers leave people that they arrest in jails so they could await trial, and then from trial, and then I feel like that's really confusing for people. So like, everybody goes to jail first. Everybody. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're a murderer, if you're a child molester, if you're a shoplifter, you all go to jail first, and then from jail you're obviously going to go to trial, and from trial they're going to give you years. If you get anything over 12 months, you're going to prison. It could be 12 months 1 day, it could be 12 months 2 days. You're going to prison. And some people will request for additional days just so they will go to prison, because some people prefer prison over jail. I don't know why, but whatever. It's happened. So that being said, some people are institutionalized. That's another thing you're gonna realize. But anyways, so we work closely together with our LEOs and state troopers, because obviously they drop people off to us. So I did my initial intake with another LEO who was also military, and a couple other corrections officers, and then one coming, and then one guy was just in our class because he had been on he had been like injured, and he had been out for so long, he had to like do his training all over again, and we were the only ones doing training at the time, because we do annual training once we're in, but obviously for us, we have to do training as soon as we get the job. So he did training with us, so he was already an LEO, but he was out for a while, and he was coming back in the job after being injured. So, yeah, he was really cool. He actually pulled me over one time. He was like, girl, you need to slow down. Anyways, so, and then there was an LEO coming from out of state. He was coming to Florida. He was already an LEO, so he just had to take the state test with us, which I thought was really cool. He actually took the state test before we did because he wanted to get in there quicker, but he took some of the training stuff with us because it was like real quick. He just had to go over some of the things, so there were some classes that he had with us, because it's like the state portion is different, so there's some things they might be missing in other states. So he actually was there for one of my accidents. Somebody rear-ended me because they were watching an accident right next, and I was just getting off work. I was still in uniform, and it was like a teenager. She just was like not looking. Somebody in front of me, because there was police coming this way. I know I'm getting distracted, sorry. Police coming this way, and then the light hurry up and turned red. The person was already in the middle of the street, but for some reason he got scared and kind of like slammed on his brakes to try to not be over the line, and I had to slam on my brakes, and then the person just, yeah. Anyways, so going back to the process, so yeah, we all do training together. That's the annual training, and then we have to go through our policy training. You have to like read the policies and then go over them, and there's a lot. You have to be done with that before you're done with the academy. And so on our days off from the academy, we'd go and we'd do our online training, or we'd go into the jail and, do our FTO training. That's another thing you have to do. You have to FTO before you work in the jail. Same goes for LEOs, meaning you have to do the field training. You have to be with an FTO, like a field training operator or whatever, officer. So somebody who trains you in the field. And we had to do ours with different officers depending on the day, because we had to see we have to do it with everybody in different portions of the jail. So we have to do it with central control. We have to do it in the different blocks and the LCCs. We have to do them. We not really ever really did the rec yard, other than just go in the rec yard and like see it. But I've actually, while I was pregnant, I worked the rec yard. I worked in central control. I was a rover after coming back. I was a rover for a while because they put me in a block that was just too packed. And then I covered mostly male blocks because, again, all the female blocks were already really packed, and males there's more male blocks than female blocks. So I worked with the males because, when they're on leave and their partner needs somebody, and I filled in. Okay, anyways. So, what else? Oh, yeah. So when you go through the process, they called me like, hey, you got an interview. Can you come in? Like I said, it looks better if you have military experience or some sort of training, or, anything that's going to make you look good. Once you go to the interview, it's a panel. So you're not only going to have the HR lady there, you're going to also have officers. So I had two COs, which was one of ours was our LT, one of the LTs on one of the shifts. We had a sergeant from one shift. I actually really liked him. He was really cool. And then we had, I had a road LT come in and do it too. He was pretty cool. He was the LEO. And then I had the HR lady. So those were on my panel, and it could be anybody from the jail if they're like, hey, can you guys come do the interview with us, and yada yada. Everybody asked me questions. Everybody asked me what my experience is. And I just told them military experience. You know, I have experience doing things, you know, doing physical things, and just being able to work quick on my feet, learning fast. I already was familiar with radio operations because I was a radio operator, or not really radio operator per se, but I worked with radios when I was in the military. So learning the calls and learning how to use radio was pretty easy, pretty fast. I learned that pretty quickly. I just had to remember all the verbiage because in the military it's different verbiage than whatever, and I'm used to not saying letters over the radio. You use phonetic alphabet over the radio in the military, but I mean, you use words. So I mean, sometimes I say like Roger or whatever because it was just like a habit, but whatever. Anyways, so yeah, so I ended up, they're like, we like you, you know, they call after the interview. You have two separate things. You have them processing the interview, HR, and then you have somebody who does background checks. So the background check person is separate from the interview. So until you're cleared from a background check, you're not going to be able to move on with the process. So it's like a dual thing. Yes, you passed the interview, but you're waiting for the background check. Once you pass the background check, they'll give you the dates. So they went ahead and did the background check. The guy finally called me. There was like a misunderstanding with one of the numbers. One of my, they couldn't get a hold of any of my leaders in the military, and it's because all of them had German numbers at the time in my phone. So all I could give were our German phone numbers. And I'm like, all I have are European numbers. I mean, there's not really, I don't have their contact information. I mean, you can probably contact the military, and I'm sure you can find their chain of command now if they're not currently on this post anymore. It's pretty easy to find out, you know, but there's a lot of people with the same name, captain, sergeant, you know, especially if they have like Thomas or Lewis, or it's like a lot of people. Anyways, so thankfully I had them on social media, so I was able to get like their phone numbers. So I think I fixed that. They were able to call and like ask about me. So they might do that where they had to fix something. So they I don't know how far up they do the background check. I think it's state. I don't think they can go any higher than state. So like if you had a federal background check, yeah, it's gonna be like federal level, a lot deeper, debt, all that stuff. But ours was mostly just county, state. So like obviously I've never been arrested in the state nor the county. I don't have a record here. I've not had a run-in with the cops other than a couple of tickets, which I already informed them. Yeah, I had speeding tickets when I was in high school. Those were already paid, and some of them weren't. I didn't even get points for any of them because I took them to court and I went to driving school, so all my tickets were paid off. I was like 3 tickets, and that was it. And they were like, okay, everything's good, you're cleared. And then I went ahead and moved on from there. I had a deeper background check in the military, so they do go way into depth because like I said, they're federal, so they go a lot deeper, and they found stuff that I was like, oh, okay, weird. And so yeah, so it's not as crazy if you're like county level. Maybe state might be a little deeper. I don't know how they do it, but anyways, it's a lot easier getting in to be state, but the job is harder. I'm just gonna say it. So yeah, it takes work to get into county because they pay higher. The benefits are better. You're getting paid $10 an hour to work in a prison as opposed to $20 an hour to work in a county jail. It's a smaller facility, less people. It's just, you know, more desirable. And you're getting paid more. So obviously a lot of people try to do that. Some people have trouble getting in first. So what they do is they'll get their foot in the door somewhere else, like state, because it's easier. You don't need to be a corrections officer to work as a corrections officer in state. That's the truth. They hire people and you stay on hired 6 months with just training from them, And then because they come in and out, people are quitting left and right. In state, it's hard working state. It's not easy. It's not. It's rough. Okay, it's rough, and people know when you're new, and they try to f with you, and they try to make your job miserable. And if you show them that you're like a pushover, they're gonna push, because that's all they got to do. They don't have anything better to do. You have to remember, these people aren't in and out of jail, prison, bored, don't got nothing better to do than to make your life miserable. You know what I mean? So you gotta let that shit roll off your back. Anyways, so yes, working state is harder. It's easier to get in, but it's harder work, and that's just what it is. And it's less money, and benefits suck. But retirement for state is usually better. So there's your kind of like, when you're working a federal job and you're a federal employee, you get better benefits. So I don't know, I believe they do work under the federal state, benefits, but state benefits suck too. You ever seen what social workers be making? Like $14 an hour, and they literally work 24 hours a day, no joke. They wake up at 2 sometimes, wake up at 3, sometimes they get 3 hours of sleep. They're crazy, they work crazy hours. It's unfortunate. State workers don't get paid enough for the jobs they do. They really don't, and they get treated like crap. So, but that is something to think about. I worked in our county with people who worked in prisons for 10 years. I mean, that's how they got their foot in the door, and they enjoyed it. And then they wanted to get a better opportunity somewhere else, so they had the time, the service, and they didn't have to be trained. So our county jail and other county jails will hire them because they already know what they're doing. Sometimes they take a pay cut to come over to county, only because it depends how many years you already put into state jail. It goes up, I believe. Like tiers, like ours goes in tiers. But anyways, I don't want to get sidetracked. So after you do that, I got hired. They were like, okay, these are your dates. You're going to come in, you're going to do a polygraph. So they literally give you dates, right? You have to write these down or you're going to mess it up. So you have to know your date for your polygraph, and you have to be there at the exact time or you're done. The same goes for, especially who does the training for the trainees. The lady who did ours was not nice at all. She's not a friendly person. She's not a people person, and I don't like people who are like that, because we had another lady who was gonna take over for her when she was gone, and it's just like they try to scare you and be unprofessional. I feel like it's unprofessional when you try to scare recruits. Corrections is not a easy job, and I feel like we need to be as much of a unit, just like in the military, as much of a family as we can be to each other, because you spend more time working with these people than you do at home with your own family, and that's the truth. We're working 12-hour shifts 5 days a week, 5 days on, 5 days off. So it's like there's 1 week out of on and off weeks. So every other week I'm spending more time with them than I am with my family. So anyways, I feel like people have to work together. So she kind of had an nasty attitude, but whatever. So she was on it. Like, you had to be at your appointments. She wasn't playing around. You can't miss them. They're not rescheduling. Like, they just weren't having it, which is good. But I've always been on time. So I guess, maybe some recruits, have that problem. In the military, you can't be late or you get smoked. And that's just what it is. So, yeah. So I went and did so they give you the date for the polygraph. They give you the date for a psych test. You have to have a psych test because they have to make sure you're right in the head. They give you a date for medical exam. You have to be cleared medically to do anything. So those 3, and then they give you a date for the physical exam, the PT test. So those are the 4 dates that you have before you can start the process to go on to the academy. So that being said, with the polygraph, it's easy. Polygraph is the only thing that messes people up is like because I'm an overthinker. I stress over things that don't make sense. I'll think about something and I'll be like, oh wait, what's that time? Like, oh my gosh. So they'll ask you questions. Have you ever did drugs? Have you did this? And they'll like, have you ever drank underage? Have you ever, things that they just want to know. Don't let them guilt trip you. I don't give a damn if your cousin's sister's boyfriend's brother was in the backyard smoking one time and you walked by. Don't say, well, I did smell some puff of smoke one time. Think about that stuff and just be like, listen, did you do the drug or did you not do the drug? Keep it simple. Don't overthink it, because this is when you get nervous and then you're going to fail the test. The polygraph can screw you over, and the polygraph is what screwed a lot of people over. People flew with flying colors and couldn't pass a fucking polygraph test. Just don't overthink it. Be honest and know your answers and you'll get through it. Don't lie, but and there are people who are honest and say, yeah, I one time did this when I was in high school. It was only one time. And that was it. And, you know, I mean, I was a kid. I was like 16, 17 years old, whatever. Never got in trouble for it, but I'm so sorry. I literally just got a phone call from my doctor's office, and I was like, yeah, like, cut off my video. Anyways, I'm gonna try to make this quick because it's like at the end of the video already, but basically, after the polygraph, don't screw it up. Just be honest, but don't be too overly honest. Like, you don't have to be like, one time my neighbor, you know, smoked marijuana and I smelled it and then I freaked out. And like, some people think about that stuff and then they're like, it's like you're beating a dead rat right now. Just because somebody you know in your family has done drugs doesn't mean you did them. They're asking about you. Don't worry about anybody else. Like, let those get out of your head. Because like, it happened to me. I got a little freaked out at first because I was like, I mean, like, you know, I told the lady, because she was like, I mean, it just, the drug question is what's coming up. Like, she was just adamant that I did drugs, and I'm like, I didn't do drugs, I know. And I was like, listen, because she was like, well, and I said, listen, I have family members who've done drugs. I'm not going to sit here and act like I have family members that have sold drugs. I have family members that are, you know, I was like, I've seen drugs. I have. And I said, but I haven't done them. And I said, and you don't have to believe me, but just because somebody's smoking weed or shooting up crack in front of me doesn't mean I have to do it. So, I don't know. People are weird. But she was just like adamant. Like, she thought like I did like a bunch of drugs because I don't know what she said, because I was in the military. She's like, you're in the military, you have to have done a lot of drugs. And I'm like, that's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie. I mean, we get drug tested every month. Like, it's spontaneous. Like, you think I'm taking chance? You think I'm taking chance? Anyways, yeah. And I know people who got kicked out of the military for doing drugs, so it's like not worth it, you know, whatever. I mean, I took Percocet when I got my wisdom teeth taken out. I mean, you know, but whatever. So just don't let it beat you up. After you go there, the psych test is really easy. You like sit in a room. There's other people that are probably gonna be before you. You're gonna be waiting in the lobby, and then she's just gonna pull you in, or he or she, the doctor, whoever. They're just gonna be like, do you feel mentally okay? Have you ever been depressed? Have you ever wanted to kill yourself? Have you, you know, typical questions. Questions that they're gonna ask you in the military too, like, have you ever wanted to harm yourself or somebody? Like, those are things that people want to know, because they want to make sure that you're okay to be working in this kind of field, you know? Especially when you're going to have a gun. You know, even as a corrections officer, we're not allowed in prisons or in jails. We cannot have guns inside the building. We do have tasers and blah, blah, blah. But when you're in transport, you're like transporting somebody. You have to be safe, and you have to be able to fire a weapon. You have to have a gun on you, you and your partner. You have to, you know, you guys have to have guns on you. So even though we don't personally have them in the jail, we do have them available if the time ever were to be needed. That's usually the CERT team that has to use them in the jail, and then you have transports where you use them. So anyways, so those are the times we'll be using them. But aside from that, then we did the trying to think. I thought that was doo-doo on my floor. I was like, did my cat take a... Because the dogs are locked up when we're gone. Did my cat take a shit on the floor? It's my kid's sausage. And she tried to eat it because it was on the table earlier. Bastard. Anyways, sorry. Yeah. The medical exam's easy. They're gonna take an X-ray of your spine. They're gonna take a they're gonna do blood work. They're going to check you. They're gonna make you do like kind of like the military. Like they asked me to do a duck walk. It's to verify neurological stuff. Except this time, I know if you guys are in the have ever been in the military. This time you don't gotta do it butt naked. So no, you're not gonna be in a room with 20 other people butt naked duck walking across the room. Okay, so no, you don't have to worry about that. You're just gonna be in your clothes. They're gonna ask you to squat, bend, touch your toes, do all that neurological stuff. So that stuff is really easy. Drug tests, they're gonna ask you to do drug tests at the medical thing. You go in the bathroom, you pee in a cup, usual. Some facilities might have you spit. Some, I don't know what they do, blood, I don't know, but for us, we did a urine test. And then they had us do an x-ray to verify our spine is good, I guess, or whatever. And then, yeah, and that was it. Then we went ahead and did, I went ahead and did the other stuff, and then you, after they hire you, what else? Oh, the PT test. So the PT test was really easy. Listen, if you ever did a PT test in the military, this is nothing compared to that. I mean, that is nothing compared to, you know what I mean? You get what I'm saying? This was like easy peasy. Depends on your department. I know some that will like actually have agility courses. They're not joking about that stuff. So don't take my word for it and be like, I'm not gonna plan for this, because I was out of shape when I did this. So they had you do easy peasy stuff, like go over PVC pipe, climb under PVC pipes. It was like really easy. I'm short, so I couldn't like, you know, just go over it with my leg. I had to like turtle crawl over it. I was like, okay, but whatever. Sorry, I'm like, anyways, so yeah, that was like my experience. The hardest thing about that was running, right? We had to do a sprint, and then we had to go back, and then we had to dummy drag something, but it was on a sled that was weighted. So it was like, that kind of burned me out a little bit. And when I run, I don't know why, but my fingers get numb. I like lose sensation in my hands. So after we did the run, they had us, you have to go in the car, buckle your seatbelt, start the car, unbuckle your seatbelt, turn the car off, get out of the car, go to the trunk, open the trunk, get the revolver, and shoot the revolver like 3 times. And I was like 1, 2, and then when I get to the 3rd time, girl was struggling. You can't use 2 fingers, obviously. So I was like, and it was no bullets, obviously, in it. So that part was hard, because when I run, I don't know why, but I lose sensation in my fingers, because like my blood is going to other things. Like my hands are not, so I had to kind of shake it off. But I would say just be ready for that. Just be ready for some stuff, like get into shape, because you never know. The academy, our academy, for our it's a region thing, so certain academies cover certain regions. Ours covered a few counties, so like for me it was like, or 3 or 2 counties, something like that, and it was pretty easy. It was like stuff, it's really was easy, because it's like, it wasn't like a PT test like the military. It was like a basic, very like, you just have to improve. So just show improvement as you're going throughout this. There's might be some that are graded though. So like I said, this is for my economy. Don't go being like, oh, it's gonna be easy, and then you're gonna be like, girl, this was so hard, I hate you. Okay, I'm sorry, but this is my experience. So that was all it was. The hiring process for us, yeah, just be honest, go in there and be on time, and yeah, make your resume look nice. And that was it. I mean, it does take a little bit, but it's worth it. I mean, it was good money. Corrections officer. So if you ever want to do that, and if you ever have trouble, like I said, you could always do state and then go county when the time is right. But thank you guys for watching mine. This was a little bit longer than I had anticipated, but thank you for subscribing to my channel. Thank you for being part of my journey, and you guys have an amazing time. Bye.
Jay Dan on the track, yo.